Okay, folks, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to try to get you started on becoming a crab net knitter. And the various stitches that I'm going to be using, you can also use for cast nets and any other type of net, scoop nets, or just about any other type of net that you will ever want to knit. You can use the same stitches, and the most thing that will change will be the size of your twine and the mold that you're using to make the meshes according to what type of net you want to knit. But I am trying to teach those who are interested into how to knit crab nets because they're fast. You can knit a whole crab net in about 40-45 minutes. And they sell pretty good now. I noticed not those cheap ones at Walmart, but a real nylon, not a cotton net, but a real nylon like what we're going to be knitting. Some circles, if you have like some people on eBay and in other formats and forums where they're selling them for $17, $18 a piece if you make a 2-foot round ring. And so I've got a recipe here to where you could hang a net with enough meshes to cover a 2-foot opening ring. That is a 2-foot, 24 inches diameter ring circle for your top ring and an 8.5-inch ring for your bottom. Okay, so this is what you're going to call a first-class nylon crab net. And if you sell these things, undersell everybody else for $10 a piece. And if you knit 300 of them a month, which that's easy to do, unless you have back problems like I do at times, that's $3,000 a month. I don't care if you live out in Arizona or if you live in the desert, because all you have to do is contact some of these net companies down here on the Gulf Coast and in Maine and other water areas where netting is done, and those shops will buy what you sell to them at a wholesale price, and you're still making a lot of money at $10 a net. And so you could still have a market for them. You don't have to live in a water area to sell nets. But let me show you how to knit a crab net. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, I thought, I thought I had, yeah, I did with this net here. Let me, just bear with me just a moment, folks. I thought I had something. Here we go. I did. Okay, all I have here is, this looks like number 9 or number 12. I think it's number 12, bonded nylon, and all I did was make a circle with it. I'm going to take this circle and wrap it here in the top of the chair. And the formula for crab nets, a real good crab net, if you want a whole 2-foot wide diameter ring for the top, is going to be 16 meshes going, 31 meshes going across, and 16 rows of those meshes from top to bottom. And here's how we start. We simply take this circle here that we've made out of this twine, and we take the twine that's on our knitting needle, which should be at least number 9 bonded nylon. We come up underneath and we pull it, and we bring it down to where, I guess it's about 1.25 inches. About 1.25 inches long, okay? Crab can't fit through that. If it is, it's too much of a baby crab to keep. So all I did was come up underneath here like this, and I'm holding, and I'm just throwing it over and pulling it and catching it. I'm throwing it over one more time, pulling it and catching it, and you're probably thinking, oh, that's too simple of a knot. That'll never hold. Well, I have to differ with you there because this is bonded nylon and it's got a coating on it, and when you pull it, even with a simple knot, you'll probably have to take a sewing needle, a little tiny sewing needle to pick the knot out. If when you're knitting it, if something slips and the knot catches before it's supposed to, it's going to be a little job undoing that knot. So anyway, okay, what we're going to do, we're going to come under here. We're going to come and we're going to bring this to where this knot, the knots have to rod right across the top here of this mold all the way down. Okay? The knots have to rod right along the top of this mold all the way down. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm just pinching it, I'm throwing over, coming underneath, and I'm putting it between these two here, and I'm coming down and tying the knot. Over, through, tying a knot. I come under again, and once again, this first row it's done different than all the rest of the part of the net except for the first mesh on each additional row. What I'm doing now, that's going to be the stitch you're going to make on the first mesh of every additional row. But after this first row, it's going to be a whole different knitting technique to knit most of the net out except for the first mesh on every additional row. Okay? So I'm just going to do a few more for you, then I'm going to jump to one where I've already went through this first row here, and you're going to see how different it is from here on. Okay, it's under, through, bring it down, pinch it. You see I'm keeping those knots right along the top of this mesh here, and on this mold, and I'm throwing it over, coming under, coming through, pulling it. And I do it twice, over, under, through, and pull. Under, through the circle, bring it down, pinch it, over, come through these two, pull it, over again, underneath, through, and pull it. Okay? Now, I need 31 of these coming all the way across. After you knit 4, 5, or 6 of them, take them off the mold, put your mold in the last one, and start over again. Come underneath, come through, pull it firm, throw over, under, through, pull. Over, under, through, and pull. Okay? Now let me take this one off, and this will be a net I'll come back to and finish, God willing. And I am going to show you how you are to begin with the new stitch that's going to knit most of the net out. Okay, let me put this aside. I can come back to that. Okay, now what you see here is one that I've already started. I've already started this one. And let's see, I don't want to get it tangled up, and I guess that's what I've done a little bit here. There we go. I think I've got it untangled. Okay, folks, bear with me. Boy, I tell you, nothing's perfect down here. Oh my, it's sad to think. You meet people in life sometimes that actually think they're perfect. Those are the people I need to steer clear of. They're the most opinionated and judgmental people. But how did I get off into that? Okay, folks, look. Now this here, I've already knitted the first row, second row, third row, fourth row. This first row here, this very first row, the simple stitch that I showed you a while ago, is how I did that whole first row. But the second row, the third row, and the fourth row is knitted a different way, except for this first row. Now this would be the end where I cut the twine off here. But when you come to an end, you flip it over and you start from left to right. You're going to be knitting from left to right on each new row. So I just take the net, let's say the needle was hooked to this, and I came to the end here. I would simply flip it around, and I'd have to take this off the chair, put it back through here to where I'm starting over from the left. Okay, let me move my chair a little forward here because I don't want to get out of the realm of the camera. And, okay, I hope this is in line with the camera. Okay, let's say that I ran out of twine on my knitting needle, and I have to start over. Okay, I'm at the beginning, or I could be anywhere in the net where I run out of twine. Well, what you do in a case like that is this. Wherever that last piece is coming from, you simply take the string on your needle, okay, and you pull it from underneath. You come from underneath, you pull it through, and you pull it down, and you hold it, okay? And you just simply do this. Watch. Over, come through, and pull. And I put it. That wasn't a good example, folks. Hold on. Hold on just a moment here. Bear with me, please. Really, I guess it's good that something like that happens, because if that would have pulled tight, I would have had to start this video all over again, because this nylon would have bonded together real quickly. It's like glue. It doesn't feel sticky, but I mean, it's just got that coating on it. And to keep this little extra piece out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and cut it because I already know where to start. And I'm going to take some fire here and singe that a little bit so it will not unwound, okay? And it melts real good. So what I will do to tie back into this, okay, I'm going to come up underneath here through this last mesh. It was the last one, but now it's going to be the first, okay? And so it doesn't matter how long it is hanging out here, just to get this first to tie in, okay? There we go. I've tied into it, but I'm going to make one more circle. I'll throw over, come through, and pull it again. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take this excess off here so that won't get in my way. And I do that the same way. I simply just cut it with fingernail clippers. And I put a little fire to it. You better be ready to blow that fire out soon in case it just wants... Okay, there we go. Now, what I'm going to do, to each new row now, each row that you start and begin, whether it's the second, third, or fourth, you do that same knitting stitch that I did the whole first row with. I come under and through, and I pull it tight to the mold, right to the top. And once again, I just go over, I come underneath with my needle. This is just hanging. I go over, come underneath and through, and then I pull it, simple looking knot, over, under, and through, simple knot. Okay, now after that, what you're getting ready to see is the whole net, whether it's a crab net, a cast net, any type of net pretty much that you will ever in your life knit. You will use those two stitches, the kind that I did the first row with, and once again, even with a cast net, that first row, of course, you usually do double selvage. I'll explain that later on, if we ever do a cast net. Cast nets are not feasible to knit for a living because they take so long, and they're the best nets you can get if you have the right recipe, and I am blessed with the right recipe, and I might share that with you all later on. But you actually knit a cast net almost the same way, but with a different size mold, and you have to use 11 widening stitches to every third row. And of course, I'd have to show you how to do that, but we don't need any widening stitches with this formula for a crab net. We're simply going to have 16 rows of meshes, 31 meshes to the row. Okay. Now, remember, the way we did this whole top row is the way you're going to begin the first mesh like I just did on each additional row. But after that, now watch what I do. I pull it down and I take my little finger here and I wrap it around and I bring it back up and I pinch it with my second finger. And I'm making sure that that knot there is like right on top of the mold. I'm bringing it around the little finger, I'm pinching it between the second finger, and you see this here? I don't have to catch it with the middle finger, but I like to catch it with the little finger to hold it open. But I simply throw over, I come back, and I come through this little circle that I'm holding open with my little finger. And I come through that mesh. And when I come through that mesh, I pull it firm, and instead of leaving it loose, I'm pulling it back, and I'm pinching it with this finger. And at this point, I've got to let that little finger go at one point. I let it go, and I pull it. And that knot there is actually a much better knot than all these other knots. Except for all these are knitted like this here. Except for the first mesh of each row, you're going to knit it like you knitted every mesh on the first row. Okay? Now, the way we do this is under, and when I say under, you're wrapping it around your little finger there, and you're keeping tension on it. And you're keeping it pinched with the second finger. Okay, after I've under, pinch, over, and through both the bottom opening and the next mesh. And then when you pull, you bring it around and get tension, let it go and pull, okay? Under, pinch, over, through. 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 And you see I'm keeping some firmness against it while I'm doing it. You see how nice the knots are lined up? That means these meshes have uniformity. See how they're riding along the top? Okay, now once it gets so full, now look how beautiful those meshes are. You see how beautiful they are? They're nice and uniform. Any crab that would fit through that is not a crab worth keeping. I actually could have used a bigger mold and made like 15 rows instead of 16 of meshes. It would have knitted faster, and because actually these meshes could be much more bigger, really, because crabs, 4 or 5 inches wide or so, and still would have been good enough net to catch the right size crabs that you want to keep anyway. But anyway, I like to, by making it this size, and by the way, this mold is simply the end of a 2x4. Take the end of a 2x4, cut it about 1/4 of an inch thick, and then sand it down to about 3/16 and make it smooth and make it roundish. And you see, actually, when flounders and fish and trout and stuff, they will come eat the bait that you have in the bottom of your net also. This mesh here is just the right size to catch them as well as crabs. Okay? Now, once you pull those meshes off that you've already knitted, you just take your mold, you come on top of this last mesh, slide it through, let it go, and then when you start knitting again, make sure that your twine here comes along the top. Okay? So what I'm doing, I'm catching it with my little finger again right there. I'm coming around and I'm pinching it. See, now you don't let it go like that. Don't leave it lax. Make sure you keep that tension with your little finger, okay? Throw it around, come through what you're holding with tension with your little finger, come through that mesh, and then when you pull it like that and you bring it underneath that second finger and you pinch it, then let go with the little finger and pull it right away fast. Now, if something happens that your knot gets tied way back here, you're going to have to just take all this off and undo it and come right back to here and wrap it around the mold again and start over there, okay? As you see, it moves along. It don't take long to knit a crab net. About 40-45 minutes. So if it would take about 8 hours to do maybe 10 a day, and that's 300 nets a month. And then after you get that first initial $3,000, if you want to just do 150 nets a month, work 2 weeks out of the month, and that's $1,500 a month. They slide through. Remember that little saying though: under, pinch, over, and through. Okay? Under, and when I say pinch, I'm pinching with my second finger and I'm holding firm with my little finger. Over and through. It's kind of like typing when you start off as pick and peck. Well, when you first start off doing this now, you're not going to go this fast like I've been doing. It's going to be real slow till you get your fingers adjusted to it, but after that, it's pretty much on autopilot. It just becomes a part of you, and you can do it without thinking about it. You could talk to people, listen to the radio, watch TV while you're doing it, kind of look away, because you know what the tension's going to be. Under, pinch. Now you see, sometimes you got to be careful for that. If it slides down like that, you got to bring it back over and throw it over and come through. Now at any point when you go to throw it over, if the twine does not lay limp like that, it tightens up. Sometimes you just have to hang your needle like this and let it unwind like that. Then your twine is more limber. Under, pinch, over, and through. Now, if you want to knit a shrimp cast net or a mullet cast net, what I'm showing you here, that's the same way you knit it, except there's widening stitches and it's a different formula and a different size mold. So what you're seeing here, you should, for any type of net you want to knit, you should be able to do it just like this. And so under, pull, over, and through. Under, pinch, over, and through. Under, pinch, over, and through. I love doing it. It's therapeutic to me. It gives me something to keep my hands busy. Under, pinch, over, and through. It's one of those last few dying arts in the world that, if it wouldn't be for folks that God moves upon to share something like this, not very many people would ever learn it. The few people who learned how to do this until YouTube come along and people started sharing some of their talents are those who had parents that were fishermen who lived in Cajun land and who taught their kids how to do this. This is one of the few things that you could actually sit at home, make a good living at, and enjoy doing it. You know, you don't have no boss over you, and you can take your time. You don't have to go as fast as I'm going. But look how beautiful those meshes are there. Look how nice and uniform they are. And once you learn how to just go with it, and once again, if you want to make a big gill net with great big meshes to catch gigantic fish, you just use a great big mold here. So the different size mold is going to determine the different size of your mesh. But you see, it's fast. I'm already like at the end here, the last two. Okay, watch. One. Okay, now once I get this one, let me show you how you start a new row. Two. Okay, when you go to start a new row, you simply hold on to it, bring it through the loop that you're tying it to. And you don't have to tie it to a chair. You could tie it to, I've knit it with it tied to a doorknob. This here you could take to the beach with you if you want to tie it to, if you know where a stump is or a post coming out the sand on the beach. Anywhere you want to go that you want to, if you like to go to the park every day, or anywhere you like to retreat to, you can always pretty much find some place to tie up to and start knitting and listen to the radio. You'd be surprised how many people gather around you because they want to see what you're doing. They'll even pull their camera phones out and film you because they want to learn how to do it themselves. Okay, now here's how you start each new row. Just like we did that different type of stitch on the very top row, look, you come here, you go underneath, okay, come through, and you pull it right down to the top of your mold. Once you pull it to the top of your mold, you hold it, okay? You throw over, you come under, and you pull a knot, okay? One more time, because that's not as good as knot as that the rest of the net is. Okay, now it has been asked probably, couldn't you knit the whole net with just this here? Yes, you could knit it with just this here. But since it's not such a good of knot to knit it like that, it's best to do it just according to this recipe, like I'm doing it here now. That first knot is okay for the first row. But now there are some people that have actually, I believe, knitted a whole cast net, and you could, if you wanted to, knit the whole crab net according to the way you did this first row here. But it's not the best. I'm showing you the best way to do it. Just go ahead and do that first mesh here, like you did all the meshes in the first row. And after that, it's under, over, through, and pull. 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 There you go. It's that quick, folks. Now, the next video, I'm going to go ahead and finish this out, and I'm going to take it up to show you how you bring these two sides together, and you seam it up. And if it's seamed up just right, you will not even be able to tell that it was ever seamed. It'll look like it's all made in one piece. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and God willing, I'll see you next video.